shuttle has cleared the tower. Every core computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
Oh, hello, hello. And as over mentioned, I am your wonderful host. Unfortunately, we are waiting for one more person, but that person can just come whenever the hell he wants. However, as we mentioned last week, we were talking about crime because the lovely lady that we have with us apparently yelled at us for it. So, I'm gonna give the floor to the wonderful lady that decided to yell at us for it. Hello, Neat. We'll be right back in Memento.
I'm so sorry. Like, she literally called like the second you started, and I'm like, oh crap.
That was hilarious though. That's practical timing.
Yeah.
um, now that we have that technical difficulty out of the way, Nick, you were mentioning about crime a few days back, so you have the floor for us.
Oh, I have the floor. I'm hosting. I thought you were hosting. You just throw me for a loop, but okay. Um, yeah, so we were talking about crime seems to come up in a lot of our podcasts because it actually does have a lot to do with a lot of things that we discuss, whether it's like a small part of it or a big part of it. Um, Crime is part of life, and unfortunately, we see it everywhere, right? Um, so I know, and a couple times Dean had brought up New York, and like I can't necessarily speak 100% for New York because I do not live in New York. However, um,
I
can
do.
speak.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I do, and I cannot wait for the topic because I have so many freaking people that I want to call out right now. That is
Yeah,
boiling and rising up right there.
I bet. I bet. Okay, so I guess we're gonna start off with crime, like national crime, and then we can go down into states and talk about some of the states and the crime rates that we're seeing in the different states. So, one of the main things that I want to focus on is crime in general. So I don't want to like we're not going to just talk about murder. We're not going to just talk about my goodness, I can't even talk. Aggravated assault, hate crime. We're going to talk about all of them, but we are at one point going to separate them up for statistical reasons. Um, so crime, and this might actually surprise people, but crime in general, nationwide, is actually decreasing. There has actually been a decrease in crime. In fact, in 2022, there was an estimated 1.7% um, decrease from 2022 compared to 2021. And I know, like, we're talking about 2023 here, but that's important to note because if we're talking recent years, 2019 would probably be our peak where we actually were on a dramatic increase in crime, especially murder. So I'm just going to run through some of these stats. And Dean, if you have anything to say about any of these stats after I run through, we'll discuss that before you.
Yeah, there are actually two articles that I posted that I felt was very important, and we're gonna take a look at it a little more next week. Because it does, even though it does play a part with the crime scene, but it's also another side as well that have to do with majority of these crimes. Not all of them are that big bad and evil, but majority of them do have where certain, I don't want to say mental illness, but mental health or kind of thing. If you get what I'm
Yes.
saying.
Yes, and actually, I've been putting together, I've already started putting together the mental health conversation for next week, and I'm happy you brought that up because we are going to be discussing um, some crimes, like especially like ones that we've seen in the news lately, mass shootings and stuff, and how mental health definitely plays a part in the. So let me run through these quick facts about crime in America in general, just like across the country. So murder and non-negligent manslaughter recorded a 2022 estimated nationwide decrease of 6.1% compared to the previous year. In 2022, the estimated number of offenses in the revised rape category saw an estimated 5.4% decrease. Um, Everybody, I'm assuming I'm not gonna. Okay, so the reason it real quick pause because it says revised rape, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows what revised rape means. Do you know what they mean by the term revised rape?
Well, no, the game term, but I don't think I know like the actual physical term.
Okay, so in 2013, the definition of rape as was changed um, to include any kind of penetration unwanted by the victim. So before 2013, rape was only constituted as rape if it was forcible. In 2013, they took out the word forcible and they just put any kind of unwanted penetration, which now includes being drunk, being, which, I mean, there was a lot going on with like the date rape drugs and getting girls, putting stuff in girls' drinks. And so the law, it was kind of broadened to include, not broadened, it was expanded to include all kinds of stuff, not just forcible sex. Just in case, and people need clarification for that. But that actually decreased 5.4% in 2022. An aggravated assault in 2022 decreased an estimated 1.1% in 2022. Now, these numbers, these percentages might seem very small, but when you consider the population of the United States and the population of states and then cities inside states, these are actually pretty large numbers, which we'll actually get into further on, like to explain the actual like numbers, because the percentages don't seem very high, but when you break them down, they actually do. They are pretty high. Here's something that's actually surprising though, Dean. So murder and rape and aggravated assault all decreased. There was one particular crime that dramatically increased, not just nationwide, but in different states and cities. Do you know what that was?
I want to say robberies and shootings or maybe stabbing.
Robbery and theft have actually been on a steady rise, while murder, rape, and other crimes have been on a decline.
But I feel like majority of them, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like majority of them, how much of it, or how many calls or reports to the police has gone unreported? That's what I want to know.
Um, that's hard to figure out because if it's not reported, then it can't be used in data. So if something happens and you don't report it, it's not an official data. I'm sure there are lots of crimes that are taking place that are not being reported. But the only actual numbers that we can provide are the ones that are in data by reported people. And we're actually going to get into that a little bit when we get into New York. You saw my notes on New York. There's a lot there.
I did. It took up the whole entire page. I was like, yep, I am ready.
Okay, so here's my question before we move on. Is there more crime in 2023?
You're talking about in my state of New York, or you're talking about in general?
I'm talking about in general, but you can bring in New York too, because we're going to be going there next.
I mean, in general, in certain states, sure, but I feel like what separates those states, like for example, Florida, which is which is heavily Democratic. However, in my state, unfortunately and sadly enough, it's heavily blue, which is stupid, but we all know why. I'm not gonna get into that. But I feel like there's a big difference between crime in Florida and crime in New York. And I feel like many of you might know, and I believe you might know as well, the very big difference between both crimes, of what define as crimes and how they deal with it in both states.
Well, and I do think that's a very, very good point to bring up. So even when it comes to murder and rape and different types of crimes, different states have different criteria that the crime has to meet in order for it to be collected in their database. That is very true. So what New York might collect in their database might not be what Florida collects in their database. Their criteria for meeting database levels are completely different. That is true.
But not even that. It's like the way they process the crime is also extremely different. Like for example, I'm still using the same example of like Florida. I know, like Florida, if you commit, for example, a murder, they'll arrest you right away and they'll keep you arrested. But here in my state, you could commit a murder, you could rob people, you can beat up somebody, you can do whatever the hell you want to do, and it's a never-ending cycle of catch, release, catch, release. You can have 40 rep on your sheet and still be catch, release, which I feel like is important to even discuss it, which I will discuss in a little bit.
I mean, I know some people in Florida that would beg to differ on your statement. Is does Florida tend to arrest murderers and keep them in jail? Um, yes, I agree on that. Where I would disagree is that the one big difference between Florida and New York is that Florida happens to be a stand your ground state, and um, there are a lot of people who rightfully don't go to prison um, under the stand your ground law where they were protecting themselves or their property and they had to take legal force. However, there are also people who should be in jail for murder who get away with it simply because they abuse the stand your ground law. Honestly, one of the most famous things I can think of is oh, what is that? I don't remember what the case was. Never mind, we'll get back to that later. But yeah, so I mean, there are different laws for different states, and they can easily be abused. Um, by and even I mean, mental health. We were just talking about mental health. Mental health is actually one of the largest excuses for mothers who kill their children. Well, she had postpartum depression. She was suffering from mental health. It's it's overused and it's abused to get people off for murder.
And not only that, like I would see articles when it comes to mom and their kids where they would post like a picture of them in kindergarten when they were like little tiny, graduated from kindergarten or fifth grade or even middle school. And it's like, okay, like
Yeah,
you expect
yeah.
us to have sympathy for the kid because you murdered someone because he was a good kid. Maybe to you, but not to the rest of us.
So here's something interesting because we're gonna get ready to go into New York. We're hitting our last point on the nation crime. But here's something that's interesting. So in 2022, actually, no, that's 2023. So homicides are on a downward trend, meaning they're decreasing, while grand larceny is on a rise. Um, during the first half of 2023, January to June, were more likely to have your car stolen in a major city such as New York City or Detroit, Baltimore, and Philadelphia than you were to actually be a victim of violent crime. New York Police Department shows a steady decrease in high violent crimes, but shows a steady increase in burglary and theft for the first half of 2023. Um, so we're gonna actually get what? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, uh, I feel like I know why majority of it is the way that it is, but we're gonna get into that once we hit that part.
Well, yeah, and I think I also do want to point out that although the stats have burglary and theft and larceny separated from homicide, rape, etc., and they do count them as non-violent crimes, I do want to point out that that does not mean that all thefts, burglaries, and larcenies do not include a victim of some kind of violence because, as we all know, there are times when you can be sitting in your car while your car is being stolen. Like it in no way. They just kind of separate them when they talk about. So they call them victimless crimes, but that does not mean that all larcenies and thefts are victimless. So now that that's done, we're gonna move on to New York, and I'm actually gonna let Dean, I'm gonna let you start the New York conversation because you are from New York. So go ahead.
Yeah, so as I said, since I'm from New York and actually talk about this, but I feel like since you mentioned like car theft auto and all that stuff, majority of those, I don't want to say like I don't want to say crime because technically I don't know if you want to call it a crime or not. Because from what I found out, a majority of these kids and I said kids, as in Pearl, apparently were following a TikTok trend where I believe it was IKEA and one other car that I cannot remember, where the only thing you needed to do to unlock the car, you didn't even need a hot wire. All you needed to do was get like a USB and then you're in. And that's how majority of these crime even happen when it comes to cars. Which I think, which seems that it's coming from a TikTok trend. I feel like that's kind of plays a role in it. But what do you think?
Hold on. Well, first of all, no. I don't think that it's still a crime. Whether you saw it on Facebook Live, whether you saw it on TikTok and it's a trend, it's still a crime. And if you are dumb enough to commit the crime, then I'm sorry, you're a criminal. I don't care how old you are. My 7-year-old child knows if you see somebody doing something on Facebook Live or YouTube, that doesn't mean you go and you repeat what they're doing. Like kids can tell right and wrong, okay? And especially if you're of age to actually be able to go out and do that, like, I'm sorry, no. You cannot blame TikTok. You cannot blame friends for that. You can blame parents though. Parent your children. Don't let TikTok do it for you. I'm just saying. I want to know what this app is though that can unlock your car. Like I'm literally googling that right now because I want to know what the hell that is.
It's not an app. It's like they use like an actual physical USB cord, or it's something with a USB cord where they put it like either like on the side of a car or something, right? And that's how they're able to unlock the car and they can steal it that way.
No, that is crazy.
Because it not only happened to like it actually recently happened to a police officer as well.
Okay, hold on.
You can play hundreds of games.
Stop.
Like blackjack.
I have a video on it. Can we share it? And just in case, and some other people don't know about this trend. Let me know when you're ready for me to start the video.
I think you might be able to deter them just by not making it easy, because these aren't knowledgeable, criminals with a history of, knowing how to bypass devices. This is just a, 1, 2, 3 step they learned online.
A big warning tonight for car owners, with some models being specifically targeted by thieves.
There's also a tie to teens and to TikTok.
Tia Ewing is here to start us off. Tia.
Well, Don and Corey, it's really crazy how these illegal trends take off on social media. It started in Milwaukee, but now it's made its way here to Chicagoland and also Northwest Indiana. It's a problem for police departments all across the country.
I see they tried to steal my kid, bro. They out here.
County, Indiana. And just days ago, Calumet City Police put out a warning saying thieves have figured out a way to bypass the security features and steal the car or leave them damaged.
Someone tried to steal my Kia Soul last night.
TikTok has pulled many of the videos showing how thieves are tearing out the steering column using a simple USB cord to start the ignition.
This is pretty much just hot wiring a car with no wiring required. They just really dropped the ball in security in this regard. Any other vehicle, turning the key would not give you the desired result of starting.
Kia model years 2011 to 2021 are impacted, and Hyundai models from 2015 through 2021. A class action lawsuit filed claims that Kia and Hyundai didn't install immobilizers in their older model vehicles because it was too costly.
If there's no immobilizer in place, it's the simple mechanics of turning the key would start the vehicle, and that's what's happening in this case. But normally that would be disabled by that immobilizer recognizing that this key does not belong to that vehicle.
Both car makers admit to the problem and made changes to their 2022 models to prevent this. Kia releasing a statement that says Kia America is aware of the rise in vehicle thefts of a subset of trim levels. All 22 models and trims have an immobilizer applied either at the beginning of the year or as a running change.
Okay, so I think I'm sorry. I get it. It's like
that's what I was saying. Like when I read it, I started laughing too because I was like, "This is just incredible."
But I think it. Okay, so here's my thing. Because they brought up Kia and Hyundai. Those seem to be the two companies that it's happening to, the cars. And now there's a class action lawsuit because they don't have the immobilizers, which I understand what the immobilizers do, and I understand they're important. However, again, we are going after the company rather than actually going after and penalizing the people who did the crime. Like, I can guarantee you 90% of these kids are still running the streets, yet we're going to take Kia to court and we're going to file a lawsuit against Kia because somebody was able to break into my fucking car. In what world does that actually make sense? I don't know. As a mother, and I know I say this every week, parents need to learn how to parent their children, and we need to start holding parents and children accountable, not Kia. Okay? I'm just saying. All right, continue.
And I agree with you because that's why when I read this, I just started laughing. And I'm like, they don't need a lawsuit. What they need is accountability.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're gonna go after Kia. What did Kia do? Okay, so they cut costs and they didn't put an immobilizer in. How about whether there was an immobilizer or not? If kids were actually parented and taught not to break into fucking cars, your car would still be there and not be broken into.
Or not only that, it's like you as a parent has control over their social media. You cannot take one day out of your life or 1 minute out of your life be like, yo, let me see your phone.
I mean, I wish one of my kids use TikTok. I hate it, but they use it. My youngest goes on YouTube Shorts all the time, and he's looking at like those YouTube Reels or whatever, and I love it. Sorry, but he knows better. I wish he would see something trending on TikTok or something trending on YouTube, and go out there and think he could do it and get away with it, because he wouldn't have to worry about the cops. Man, I'd beat his ass. I'm just putting that out there.
And yeah, I agree 100% because I think like that's just incredibly. It's funny, but it's also sad at the same time.
It is. I would be that mom. You remember during the protest, that viral video that went like viral of the mom who saw her teenage son at the protest and like went to the protest to like beat her son's ass and drag him back home. That would be me. I would be that mom. Like, you would see me sitting there watching my son or my child do a crime on TV, and I would be that mom in the screen on national TV as they're trying to report on it, beating his ass for doing that crime.
Oh, I remember seeing that video. That video was hilarious.
That would be me. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I'm just...
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the laws, which I did explain earlier. We have a law here, which is back in 2019, under Governor Andrew Cuomo. He basically signed what we called a bail release form. I want to say it's in 2019 or early 2020, but I want to say 2019. So basically what that is that pretty much what used to be and what allows you to arrest somebody, regardless if you had, for example, a pound of heroin, you were arrested and placed in jail. If you beaten up somebody, you were arrested and placed in jail. Now with the bail release form, which, as I mentioned a few times before, and I even mentioned it to a lot of my family members and a lot of my friends, it was a stupid fucking idea. And I'm sorry for cursing, but it is a stupid fucking idea. I'm gonna say that again. Because now, what they consider quote unquote a violent crime, they now lower that to a misdemeanor. And I feel like that is just complete utter bullshit.
Okay, so here's my question, because I know what you're referring to, and yeah, it was passed in 2019. You were correct. I know you doubted yourself there for a minute, so I'm just reaffirming you were right, Dean. Okay, but here's what I don't understand. So, according to the actual bail reform law, I know you guys call it catch and release, but I'm going to use a technical name because I'm not from New York. So, the 2019 New York bail reform was supposed to be for non-violent felony charges like stalking, burglary, drug offenses, assaults that didn't include serious injury. So my question is, if that was what they passed, how did it go from passing it like this? Because like this, honestly, what they have here written in the actual bill isn't bad. Like, yeah, you don't want to send somebody to jail for 30 years for a simple drug offense, right? Like, it's just,
like if you have a pound of marijuana, that's perfect. You don't need to send that person to 30 years in jail. Like, I get that 100%. But
exactly. But my question is though, where did it go from what they have in the law to how they're actually doing it? Because
they don't follow their own fucking laws. That's the thing. They don't follow it. Because I can give you so many fucking cases right now, just off of the top of my goddamn head. And I'm sorry for saying that word. Because it's the fact that, at least in Manhattan, right? We have the DA for Manhattan, which is Alan Barge or Alan Bridge, something like that. Which last name is completely weird. But if you look at Manhattan, all the cases in Manhattan, majority of them, right? And I say at least 99% of them has all been placed as misdemeanor. They call it nonviolent crime, and they say all of this. They don't follow it. Because they will just, what they do, they will let them go. It's catch, release, catch, release. The NYPD right now, their hands are tied because they cannot do anything right now in terms of all of that. Their hands are fucking tied. If I was an NYPD right now, right this minute, working overtime or whatever it is, and yet, Eric Adams, I am pointing my finger at you because I'm going to talk about you next too, and I'm throwing you out there. And I'm also talking about the Wicked Witch of the West as well. I'm throwing her out there too. But right now, if I was an NYPD and I'm doing all of this and my hands are tied, I will not be working right now. I would be taking my services and moving my ass somewhere, either in a red state or somewhere where my fucking services are appreciated.
Yeah.
So that bill could say whatever the hell it wants to say. I, as a person that has seen it, witnessed it, knows that all of that that's on that bill is absolute complete lies.
Okay, so 2023 standard judges. Okay, bail reform for New York City through the year. Standard judges use when determining whether to set bail. The court must consider the kind and degree of control or restriction that is necessary to secure his court attendance when required. Okay, like that don't make no sense. But anyway, court in all cases. Okay. Charges eligible for bail. That's what I want. Okay. Most violent felonies and conspiracy to commit Class A felony crimes involving witness intimidation or witness tampering, sex offenses, violating an order of protection, terrorism, or money laundering in support. In support of terrorism. Okay, so here, okay, wait, hold on. So, realistically, according to this bill, it's really up to the judge, even with this, because
It's not. It's not up to the judge. Even the judge's hands are tied thanks to the Wicked Witch of New York City and New York as a whole.
But when it comes to charges that are eligible for bail, so like for example, and here it says sex offenses violating. I heard a story out of New York City about a month and a half ago where a lady was violently raped by this man. Well, I guess he's a man, but he was like 19, 20. And like beat up, violently raped. And they arrested him. He was back out on the streets the day after, came back and killed her. And
welcome to New York.
But see, and that's where I'm confused, because it says that in that particular case, that guy would have been eligible for bail. So that's why I'm saying it looks like when they are eligible for bail, it's still up to the judge. The judge can be an asshole and say, well, yeah, I know you raped the girl, but I'm not going to set bail. You're free to go.
No, and that's not the case. Because apparently the Wicked Witch of New York, for those who don't know, is Kathy Hooch or Hocha, whatever how we want to call her. I call her the Wicked Witch because she is one. But she basically, even not only did she tie up the NYPD's hands, she also tied up the judge's hands as well. So a lot of that what's it called, crime, or even a lot of these demeanors, if you want, or felonies, whatever you want to use, falls under the DA. For those of you who don't know what a DA is, it's district attorney.
Alright, I see it. Okay. So, in 2023, the governor proposed a radically redefining the state's bail law, removing both the least restrictive means standard and the language specifying that judges may only set bail caps when it's believed to be necessary to ensure a defendant's return to court. This would have effectively reversed the state's legislature's decision in the 1970s not to add a dangerous standard to the law. She refused to negotiate a budget until they agreed to further modify the bill. Wow.
Now you understand what I said. Not only, so basically, she took this long, right, for her to, in her words, modify it, knowing that well she's not gonna do anything.
Yeah. Okay. So it says right here, the criminal procedure law now reads, except as otherwise required by law, the court shall make an individualized determination as to whether the principal poses a risk of flight to avoid prosecution. So only if you think they're going to not return to court. Wow. So, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That's just wrong. That's just wrong.
You're surprised to know about that, aren't you?
That is just wrong. I'm sorry. That bitch. Somebody needs to get her out of your governor's spot. I'm sorry. Like
that's why majority of us call her the Wicked Witch, because of the exact reason.
That is. I don't even have no words for that. I feel bad for the victim.
Yeah, not only that, like you could even look it up yourself on New York Times, on New York Post, on anything that you want to look up that has the news outlet on there. You could pretty much see majority of these cases are being done by the district attorney, the DA, mainly in Manhattan. So, I want to say like a few weeks ago, or maybe a couple months ago, I can't remember, but there was a gentleman who was basically beating up an old lady. Right, because he was pretty much, he had like mental issues or something. I don't know what it was. So he was basically like in a subway, walking down the street and walking down the stairs of the entrance of the subway line. And of course, he screamed at the poor old lady. She was like 60 years old, or maybe like 65. I can't remember. And he was basically yelling at her, "Yo, move, move, move!" The lady, of course, she can't move. She's an elderly. Like, for the love of God, she's not gonna put rockets on the bottom of her feet. So what ended up happening was that she had a cane. The guy basically took the cane from her and started beating the crap out of her to the point where she was taken to the hospital. And you want to know what happened?
He didn't even go to jail, did he?
Oh no, he went to jail. But you know what happened after that?
2 hours? What?
They let him go. Not even less than 24 hours.
That's ridiculous.
Thanks to the DA of Allen freaking Bridge, of Bradge, whatever you want to call him. There you go.
That's. Mm-mm. That's no, that's not a that's not a misdemeanor. That's
And that's been happening. And not only that, it's like recently, like these so-called migrants. I'm using the term lightly because everybody knows the truth. They're not freaking migrants. They're not freaking asylum seekers either.
You don't have to be politically correct on here, Dean. Call them what they are.
Well, I'm just putting them quote unquote lightly. Because everybody knows what they are at this point. They're illegal aliens. I don't give a damn if anybody want to fight me over that. Okay? Her, like, electric motorcycle kind of thing. Or the MyPod, or whatever you want to call those. She punched the cop in the face. With no shame whatsoever and no hesitation. Punched an NYPD officer. Okay? Punch him in the face. They arrested her. Same day, they let her go.
Wait, and she punched?
No. This lady from Venezuela, she was quote unquote, migrant seeker, asylum seeker, whatever the hell you want to call them.
Yeah.
She basically punched him in the face for trying to take her bike, like her electric scooter.
Yeah.
So she was telling him no, and the NYPD cop, okay, was like, "I'm sorry, you cannot have it." She, with no hesitation, no shame, nothing whatsoever, not giving a fuck, punch him right in the face. You can look it up right now if you wish to do so. Less than 24 hours, that very same day that she punched that cop, she was let go.
Wow.
And apparently, and according to the wonderful laws of this mysterious of all mysterious laws in here in New York, right? It's illegal for you to punch a cop. And you could be arrested. She punched him. She was arrested. Let go the very same fucking day. Make it make sense.
I mean, technically, it's illegal for you to curse at a cop. Not all cops follow that law, but that man. I mean, I cannot. Here's my issue with that. If I could see why, okay, yeah, you punched a cop, we're gonna fine you, we're gonna whatever. I wouldn't necessarily send them to jail for a punch. However, here's my issue. If it were anybody else, would they be out of jail already? Or would the NYPD throw the book at them because it involved a cop?
I want to say honestly want to say, I want to say it in a way that doesn't make me sound like an asshole, but I feel like it's no matter how many ways I'm gonna put it, it's gonna come out like an asshole. I feel like a certain demographic of people that I feel are getting away with it more, and I feel like majority of that is the minorities are getting away with it. And and the reason why I say that is because, which will come up in a little bit as well, and I believe you have the article between Daniel Penny and Jordan Nelly.
Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Jordan Neely? And okay, got it.
Yes. The Marine soldier.
I ain't supporting you for not going. Alright. Okay. New York City subway passengers hid prey during Jordan Neely's insanely threatening rant before deadly chokehold. Is that the one?
Yes. Now, I want to talk briefly a little bit about this. If we want to read that, it's up to you. So basically, this whole entire thing started was Daniel Penny, of course, and this guy. He was a Michael Jackson impersonator for like so many years. So he was basically homeless, yeah, but he still made a little bit of money doing what he does. But he was in a subway ride with Jordan, and of course, all of a sudden, Jordan just stood up, I guess, and decided to start screaming and threatening the passengers. In which Daniel Penny came and was trying to de-isolate the situation by telling him hey, chill out, this and that. The other people that were sitting around both of them, mainly around Jordan, they got up and pretty much moved to a different seat. And he just kept going off and going off and then going off to the point where I feel like Daniel might have thought that the passengers were in danger. They ended up, of course, they never figured out for who he was until little bits and pieces came out. And then that's when they discovered that the gentleman in the video was actually Danny Penny, who was basically a Marine. So they ended up arresting the Marine, and they charged the Marine. There is another one. There is another case, but I can't remember the name of that case right now, which is very similar to what happened to him. I'm actually going to find it in a little bit. But that's basically the backstory from what I remember.
Okay, so let me see. As the car doors were closing, irate Jordan Neely entered the subway car and immediately made his presence felt. Neely, who had a long history of mental health problems, threw his jacket across the train as he complained that he had no money or food. One witness testified to the grand jury that Neely's mentioning words, which included ravings that someone is going to die today and that he was ready to go to Rikers, were insanely threatening and delivered with a sickening and satanic bent. The witness believed he was going to die as Neely began approaching him. He described the moment as absolutely traumatizing beyond everything he had ever experienced in 6 years riding the subway. Another witness who was with her young son told the grand jury that Neely said he wanted to hurt people. I want to go to Rikers. I want to go to prison, she recalled him saying, adding that her nervous son asked her why the man would want to be jailed. So it's... Now, did they find Penny guilty?
From what I remember, I don't know if the case is still ongoing, but from the last time I remember, I believe the jury might be finding him guilty because of all of this.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
He has been indicted on charges of second-degree manslaughter and criminally neglect. homicide. Wow. He remains free on $100,000 bail, but faces up to 19 years behind bars if convicted. Penny has said he didn't mean to kill Neely, but that he felt he had to step in for the safety of other passengers as Neely was throwing transit riders and threatening them as they moved away from him. Yeah, like, I'm sorry, what?
Oh, here, I found it.
Penny's next court date is October 25th.
Which just passed, I believe.
Yeah. That is crazy.
It is crazy, and I feel like it's completely unfair. It's like, what do you, if the guy, if Jordan did volunteer to kill everybody, what do you expect him to do? Just stand there?
I think, yeah, no, I don't want anybody to just stand there. I think this is actually a good case to use for mental health as well. Because let me see. Jordan Neely obviously suffered from mental health, right? There was a lot of mental health issues going on with Neely. But then you also have to look at Penny. So Daniel Penny is now going to court being charged with the murder of this man. When I have to agree with Neely's parents. Down here it says, well, his mother. It says, where did I see that at? Oh, yeah. Where it says that, well, where did I see it? Oh, come on. See, now I'm like it. Where his mom said that the mental health system failed her son, and I do have to agree with that. I have to agree with that. If he had a long history of mental health, it's obvious that there was something, he wasn't treated properly for whatever reason, and that's.
He was also arrested quite a few times as well. I'm just throwing that out there too.
But arrested for what is what I would ask. Like, what
Well,
would
I know for one of them, he punched a woman in the face.
Which, yeah, that's not good either. Okay, Jordan Neely. Oh, stop. Oh, whatever, I'll allow it. Get out of here. What the heck, man? Okay, you know what? Let this go.
You could just like refresh it.
All right, Jordan Neely was on New York City's top. Oh my goodness. Top 50s list. You know what? I'm not disabling nothing. Go away. It's not worth it. Okay. He was apparently on the New York City top 50 list for emergency homeless veteran. Or something like that. Homeless. I don't think it said veterans, but I can't read it, so homeless people with urgent need for help before subway death. So he was on the top 50 list for homeless people that needed help before the incident. So, I mean, here's my thing. Why is there even a list for the top 50 homeless people who need help, whether it be mental health help, shelter help, whatever? Yet we're bringing in these freaking illegal immigrants and we're giving them housing. We're emptying schools. We're emptying churches. We're emptying hotels to house them. But we still have a top 50 list for homeless people who need help.
welcome. Now you understand why this state kind of always pisses me off. We put
No,
other
no.
people problems over our own, and of course, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I have seen helpless people, like, on the train, and if I could, I'll help them if I could. Like, I would, well, you're not gonna see me, of course, taking a video of it, but, I try to help as often as I can. If I'm able to do so, I will. But the fact that other people's problems are our problem is none of our freaking business. None.
Yeah, like I don't. Oh, that really irks me because like, I'm not excusing what Neely did, but if he wasn't on a top 50 list and he was actually getting the help that he needed, this whole thing would have never happened.
And I agree with you 100%.
That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. The mental health system needs fixed, but we're going to talk more about that next week. I mean, New York is.
There is another. I did post another link where there is a similar. You had like a very similar incident that happened, but with this one, with this gentleman, he was basically let go. Wasn't even charged with nothing whatsoever. But he did ended up killing the guy as well. He ended up stabbing him. I don't remember where, but I know he did ended up stabbing him as well. But he wasn't done what Daniel Penny was done to, where he was like charged with manslaughter and charged with this. He was pretty much like just let go. They're like, okay, cool, no problem. You can just be free.
Now, this might sound like a bad question, but I'm going to ask it because it is relevant. What color was the victim?
Person of color.
And what color was the oh my gosh, perpetrator?
White. Well, for Daniel Penny, he was white. For the second gentleman, he was a person of color as well.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. All right. I'm just gonna leave it at that because
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So one of the things about New York that I find interesting, Dean, is that hate crimes have always been something that was very relevant in New York City, especially being in the city, Manhattan, places like that where you do have a lot of LGBTQ and
I mean, we do have don't get me wrong, I love the state, I do. Because we have a mixture of everybody. Italian, Hispanics, people of color, Asians.
Yeah.
Basically everybody, pretty much, of every single type of orientation, every single type of religion. That's what I love about this state. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes it just angers me.
Your diversity is very big in New York, and especially in New York City and its surrounding areas. But with great diversity comes a great number of hate crimes as well, sadly. So another thing that I noticed about New York City is that hate crimes have almost doubled in New York City.
Well, depending on the topic for the day.
Well, and especially in September of 2023 and in October of 2023. So in October of 2023, the Jewish population in New York City had an increase of 214% hate crimes.
And of course, the only reason that being is because of the war between Pakistan and Israel.
But I also find it I don't want to say hilarious because that sounds wrong. But I also find it hilarious that right underneath the Jewish population for October 2023, do you want to guess what the second biggest group victim group of hate crimes in New York City in October has been?
I want to say it's Asians.
No, surprisingly not.
Really?
Anti-white crimes, which means people of different races committing crimes against white people simply because they're white.
Wow. For whatever reason, I'd never heard of anything like that. Like, I have seen, like, Asian being attacked, and of course, like, and of course, the Jewish being attacked, but I've never heard of anti-white before in my entire life.
Well, it's one of the, so for the hate crimes, they have a huge ass list. It's like 30 things. Anti-white, anti-black, anti-gay, anti-lesbian. This goes all the way down the list. Anti-gender, which I don't know what that means. But anyways, but yeah, so for 2020, October, so far in October, well, in October 23 last month, not last year, it went Jewish population, and then, so anti-Jewish, anti-white, and then anti-Asian, and then anti-black.
I mean, like, the Asian and the Jewish I get, but the only thing that's baffling my mind, and it's still like, and I'm still flabbergasted about it, is the fact that the second highest is anti-white. Like, how exactly does that work?
I guess because, I mean, in the news media, being anti-white, there's been a whole agenda about how whiteness is evil. I mean, that's what I'm assuming. I don't know.
I mean, I don't get it. Like, I never heard of anti-white ever in my whole life.
Well, I mean, it is a thing. Don't you know it's a sin to be white right now?
No, I mean, like, I understand, like, it's a thing, and it's an actual thing that's happening, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading it wrong or something.
I don't know, but I just found that funny because, like, I found it not funny because, like, people are getting hurt, but funny because you would expect anti-white to be, like, at the bottom.
At the very, very bottom, or at least somewhere, like, not in the middle, I guess.
I mean, because, like, the way that the news media and stuff paint it, it's like nothing's happening to white people. White people are doing all of it. So it's like, wait a second, you mean they were the second most discriminated against in New York City in October 20? What? But yeah, it shocked the hell
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I'm not saying that white people are like all of them are innocent. Most of them are not, but majority of them really do not bother you whatsoever. So it's like,
I don't bother.
It's like, you're not gonna see me walking outside with like two hands above my head, sticking my tongue out at you. Like, I'm not gonna do that.
You know what? I live in a very diverse city. Okay, I walk through Walmart. I walk through downtown. I walk through anywhere, and I don't clutch my purse regardless of who's behind me. I don't clutch my purse regardless of who's, like, standing. I don't clutch my purse. I don't care who the fuck you are. I'm not afraid of nobody. Like, I don't know if it's just because how I was raised. Like, I was raised in Northern Virginia, so we were so used to diversity. And it's like, black people don't scare me. Spanish people don't scare me. White people don't scare me. Like, it's just like, I do know some people, like, I've been at Walmart where people have literally seen black people or Hispanic coming through, and they're clutching their purse or they're pulling their purse closer. I will walk right next to a random black dude walking down the street with my purse halfway open and not care. Like, unless you actually have ever done something to me, like, unless you have come up to me and tried to steal my purse, tried to attack me, I'm not going to just randomly be afraid of you because of what you look like. Like, that's just, I never understood that. Like, I
mean, neither have I, honestly. Like, I don't, like, in the summer, I carry my bag around just because, like, I need to bring, like, water and stuff like that to and from work. But a lot of the time, if I clutch my bag, it's either because I take public transport, Just and for the record, the MTA is a piece of shit. Yes, I'm calling the MTA out too, even though it has nothing to do with this. But like, if I clench my bag or if I move it forward, it's not because I'm scared, it's because I want people to have space. Cause like, especially on public transport, like you're literally right on top of each other. As I like
Oh
to
yeah.
call it, as I like to call it, roaches. And as somebody who do not like crowds, and I get extremely panic attack with crowds, I just handle it as it is. But if I see, like, for example, an old Hispanic lady or an old, like, white, black, whatever, and or elderly, like, whatever color you are, and if I'm sitting down, I will stand up and be like, hey, have a seat. You're not gonna be like, I'm not gonna be trying to like hide in that little corner trying to be invisible. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, them old women are the ones you gotta watch for though. They will kick your ass with that cane, man. I'm not gonna go that. Them old people, them the ones you gotta watch for.
I mean, yeah, but still, I don't know if them are like batshit crazy.
Goodness. All right, so I'm gonna move on to California. We all love California, right?
No, just throwing this out there too. I used to live in California way back in the day.
Way back in the day before it became the shithole that it is now. It's like, if
Yeah,
anybody lives in California,
no, you're right. No, you're right. Way before it used to be a shithole. That's when I was there.
all right. So look, okay? So California, the Tenderloin District in downtown San Francisco is renowned as the city's most hazardous neighborhood with the highest crime rate. Now, get this: these numbers are freaking ridiculous. With a population of 39,000 residents, it stands out with an alarmingly high violent crime rate, surpassing the national average by over 270%.
Shoosh.
So 39,000 residents, yet it surpasses the national average by 270%.
I do have family in California who have told me that the crime in California, especially in the San Francisco area, has gotten so bad that a lot of the stores have been shutting down, like supermarkets, malls, and even high
Yeah.
name brands like Macy's and Nordstrom and all of these like different stores. All of them are shutting down because of the extremely high crime rate. That is what she told me, and I was absolutely shocked and blown away because I thought New York was bad. California is worse.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely. So every 3 hours in California, someone loses their life to gun violence. Every 3 hours. That
And that's a sad thing to think about too.
it is. It's very sad. But the numbers in the Tenderloin District in downtown San Francisco, it's just the numbers are just I can't even like I saw that data and I was like blown away. 39,000 people and they surpassed the national average by over 270%. That is freaking ridiculous. Like I don't even know like the demographics of that neighborhood, but the number alone is like what the
I
hell?
know. It's not diverse, but it used to be diverse, but it's not that diverse. I know that at least in California, there's more people of color and more people of like people of color. Yeah, people of color and more like Hispanic. At least from what, at least from what I was told. I don't know from what country, but I do know that it used to be diverse, but now it's like it's more leaning towards heavily Hispanic and of course people of color.
Yeah, I'm about to. We're gonna actually look into this real quick. Um. Okay, so they are. Ooh, found it. Okie dokie.
I'm just throwing this out there at the random fact. She's better than the FBI. I hope you're hearing this. You gotta hire this woman right now.
Oh, please. Okay, so the race and ethnic profile of Tenderloin District in downtown San Francisco. Okay, so it is.
You gotta make it all
Okay,
mysterious and creepy, like.
it is okay. So white people, white alone. Oh, okay. So like nothing else, just white. Okay, the way that they word that is weird. So 10,594 white people, 2,898 black people, 230 American Indian, 9,004 Asian, and 4,000 Hispanic, 4,796 Hispanic. So a majority of them are still white. The second would be Asian. So and then it goes to Hispanic, Black or
I feel
African
like it might
American.
be. I feel like that one might be a little bit outdated, but I could be wrong. Maybe not.
This is from the year. Oh wait, hold on. Nope, that's from 2000. That's 23 years ago. 2023. Ha. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Well, damn. 2023. All right. It's still majority white and Asian. But wait. Oh god. Yeah. So white, Asian, Hispanic are the top races there.
Exactly.
With 8. And this is from the 2022 census. That is crazy. That means white people really do be killers. White people be some killers. Sorry. Man. That is, no, I'm just saying. So, like, no, like, regardless of the demographic, though, like, those numbers be fucking crazy, man.
And not only that, like the most popular crime that's been happening. At least I don't know about Philadelphia where you are, but I do, and I'm not. I know California is like heavily involved in it, and we in New York as well. The most popular crime of all is basically shoplifting. It's gotten so bad. Like I went to the pharmacy on Monday, and I was walking around with my mother, and of course she was like, oh, she told me, hey, there, you notice that there's a lock on top of the doors, and I was like, what do you mean there's a lock on top of the doors? So she was like, yeah, right there. So as we were walking out, when she mentioned it, and I saw like the beers section, and at the corner, I saw like a lock. So basically, you can't even open that door to get a case of beer for yourself without needing anybody's help. To the point where you now have to ask an employee to unlock that door and get you a case of beer for you to pay for it and then for them to lock it back. You know how crazy that is?
Yeah, I believe it.
Like it's gotten so bad that they're locking up body odors. Oh boy, body detergents like shampoos, like toothpaste, toothbrushes, like even laundry detergents as well. And it's like, what? It's gotten so horrible. They're locking all of that down with like change and keys and anything they can think of just to stop, just to get it to stop.
Wow. Yeah, that's. Whew, I don't know. So we talked a little bit about laws in New York, and I kind of want to talk about more about some laws that I know with crime and everything and the news and in the media, politics, they're using crime as a means to, well, they're telling us that crime is on a dramatic
Speaking of
rise.
crimes, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
Go ahead.
Speaking of crime, it's so bad in New York that I have an application called Citizen app, and the first thing that pops up on my fucking Citizen app says search for armed robbery suspect. What the hell did that tell you, man?
Yeah, well, I mean, you should see our scanner page here in my little city. Like, I live in a little city, and our scanner page is constantly going off. Our police scanner, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, come on, like, our city ain't even that damn big, and there's always something fucking going on here. But so gun laws. I want to talk about gun laws because a lot of times when we see what the news paints as a rise in crime, the first thing they go for is gun laws. And let's try to prevent crime by creating these new laws, and they mostly specifically go after guns. So, Dean, before we go into what I have here, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Do you think you live in New York City, which happens to be a high crime area? Do you think that the gun laws that New York has put into place, including the strict restrictions they have put into place, do you think they have helped bring down crime or done nothing to help crime?
Do you want the PG-13 version, the PG, or do you want the rated R version?
I want the damn truth.
All right.
However you give it to me.
Cause let me tell you something. Because, like I said, I'm gonna be talking about this forever if I fucking can. Absolutely the fuck not. Cause it does not help not one fucking person. Yeah, it will help the criminal, but sure as hell not helping us. Because literally in Times Square, the Wicked Witch, she put like a sign in Times Square. I don't know where in Times Square, where it says I shit you not, you could look it up yourself. That says gun-free zone. Like, you really expect the criminal to walk into town, one day wake up and be like, I'm gonna go to Times Square. Oh wait, I remember. Times Square is anti-gun zone. I'm just gonna leave my gun at home. Absolutely the fuck not. They're not gonna do that. Please make it make sense.
Wait, Times Square is an anti-gun area?
Yes, they have an actual sign in Times Square that says anti-gun-free zone. You can look that up yourself right now, and you can see that.
Wait, anti-guns?
Anti-gun-free zone in fucking Times Square.
Wait. Hold on.
I know the New York Post had an article on it, but you can literally look that up right now. It's hilarious.
No, I'm just confused by your wording of the sign. I want to see the sign.
Like, I wish I was joking. I swear to God, I'm not.
Sign. No, it's just the way that you're wording the sign. Just sounds off. Okay, because you said anti-gun free zone.
Yes, and I'm calling it, which is basically what it is. Just they calling it gun free zone. Okay. It's the same thing.
But you said anti-gun free, which would mean that it would allow gun. It's anti-gun.
Well, there you go. Anti-gun free.
It's a gun-free zone. I actually found the sign. Is this the sign you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, the exact same one. It's like I said it before. If I'm a criminal, I'm not gonna wake up one morning and be like, I'm gonna go to Times Square and I'm gonna leave my gun at home because it's a gun-free zone. Like, no.
I mean,
it doesn't work that way.
Zones.
This is not a Disney. This is not a Disney fairy tale movie where you could just do that.
Well, I'm saying schools are gun-free zones, and we know what happens in schools. So, but okay. So, do gun laws work? No, not in New York City.
Just put it this way. No, it doesn't fucking work in New York City.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about gun control. So we're going to define gun control. Gun control is an umbrella term that refers to laws and ordinances that restrict how law-abiding citizens can buy, own, or use firearms. These vary at the federal, state, and local levels. So we have the Gun Control Act of 1968. Which imposed federal licensing of individuals to manufacture or deal in firearms and a ban on all interstate transportation of weapons to or from individuals not licensed as dealers, manufacturers, importers, or collectors. Then we have what is called the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act. This act was signed into law requiring federal firearms licensees to request background checks on prospective firearm transferees. So, these don't sound like bad laws or acts because they're gun control acts.
They could have simplified it, but sure, not terrible.
But here's the thing. These laws created nationwide requirements that make it more difficult to obtain a firearm. And that sounds like a good idea. Oh, yeah, let's make it a little bit more difficult to obtain one so that criminals can't get one.
But here's the kicker. It's the complete opposite.
Exactly. These laws have been in place for decades, and by now I think the evidence is pretty clear. Gun control does not work. And I think one of the main reasons that gun control does not work is because criminals do not obey gun control laws.
Not only that, though, it's like you also have this new thing called a ghost gun where it's literally untraceable. So you can literally have an AK-47 that's untraceable whatsoever.
Yeah. So gun control laws mainly affect law-abiding people who go through legal avenues to obtain firearms. Criminals overwhelmingly obtain their firearms through illegal channels and will never be deterred by state and federal laws. That's why background checks have virtually no impact on criminals. And here is a kicker. 2016. Who was president in 2016? Does anybody know?
Donald Trump?
Donald Trump was not president until 2017.
Oh, wait, what? Wait, what year did you say?
16.
Oh, 16. Barack Obama?
Yes. In 2016, the Obama administration conducted a study by the Bureau of Justice Statistics to examine how prison inmates obtained the firearms they used during crimes. I think Obama administration as his administration expected it to go a different way. But the study found that only 10.1% of criminals obtain their firearms through a retail source. The vast majority of them actually attained their firearms through illegal underground sales.
Which I'm pretty, would the ghost gun consider falling into that category?
Yes, exactly. So, they're not going through background checks and shit. You know what I mean? They're not even going to the gun shop. They're buying them illegally. Surprise, surprise. Not really surprise, surprise for those rest that are smart. But, so that was the number one way that they were getting their guns. But then there was also they bought, borrowed, or traded from a friend or family member. They purchased by another. The gun was purchased by another individual for them. They stole the gun. They got the gun from their victim or from the scene of the crime.
So now here's the question that I want to ask you. And for those of you listening and watching as well, I want you guys to answer this too. What do you guys think of this? What do you think of this phrase? Guns do not kill people. People kill people. What do you guys think? What do you think?
100%. I would 100% agree with you. My gun can. Here's the thing. My gun cannot leave my desk, walk on its own two legs, and fire its own trigger to kill somebody. I have to pick it up, take it to where that person is, and pull the trigger my damn self. I mean, that's just bottom line. Guns don't kill, people do.
Because I feel like that phrase, I don't want to say many people, but I know like some people tend to have like disagreement with that phrase, and I have no idea why. But I feel like it's the truth. Like the gun, like you said, the gun's not gonna wake up, walk out of the house, and be like, "Let me just shoot this dude," and you automatically just pull the trigger. Like somebody has to pull the trigger.
Well, that's because a lot of people falsely believe that if you get rid of guns, then you're gonna get rid of a lot of murder. The only thing that you're gonna get rid of in that case is gun-related murders. You're still gonna have high murders. New York, if you take guns completely out of New York City, there is no gun anywhere in the site, whether it's on a criminal or anything. This is in a fantasy world, but if New York City was truly a gun-free city, you would still have high crime because the people who are committing the crimes would find other ways to commit them, whether it be with a knife, whether it be with their car, whether it be with bombs. They would still get the job done. They would not need
I'm also gonna read this. This comment was made by bomb.com over on Kick. He basically said bullets kill people, it's not the gun itself.
But the bullets that you have to eject through the gun, the bullet's not going to eject itself through the gun.
That's what he's trying to say. That's what he was trying to say.
Yeah. And I think, like I said, regardless, if you get rid of all the guns in America, we're still going to have crimes, because if people really want to hurt or kill other people, they will do it any way necessary. I mean, look at the UK. They got rid of guns. They did this whole campaign. They outlawed guns, banned guns. Nobody can have guns. Half of their cops don't even have guns, man. Like, come on. But anyways, so now they're dealing with a knife problem. And they're trying to figure out how they can do knife control.
The fact that they're even planning on doing a knife control, it's a laugh with it itself. Because it sounds like a freaking joke.
Dude, let me tell you, I laughed my ass off. And I wish I would have saved it when I seen it. So you know me, I like to troll through Twitter, right? And I'm going through
and you
Twitter,
get banned off of Twitter, just so everybody knows you get banned off of Twitter a lot.
I have never been banned from Twitter. I have been what's that word? I've been
silenced.
So I call it silence, where I can't post anything or reply to anything, but I can still see everything. But I've never been banned. They never completely banned me off of Twitter. They know better than that. Anyway, so what was I? See, now you may. Oh yeah, so I follow the South Wales Police Department in the UK. Just because their posts are freaking hilarious, okay? So the one day they posted this picture of a garden outside, and they had a screwdriver. They had, one of those garden tools, the ones that kind of look like the stakes that you put in for your the metal stakes that you put in to hang like your baskets and stuff, but the ones that are like windy.
Yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
They had like 3 of those in the picture, and their entire point of posting the picture, their headline for that picture was making the streets a little bit more safe today.
Did they really just put a sign that said Wow.
I'm sorry. You're taking my gardening tools, and that's making the city safer. I can't
It's
even
almost,
have
it's almost as
like.
bad as our gun-free zone.
I'm telling you, like, taking guns away doesn't do anything but cause more problems because now you have a knife problem. Now you have a car problem. I mean, you don't need a gun to commit a mass murder.
It's like
Or a mass
the next.
yeah.
It's like trying to if they're trying to murder somebody with your hands, are you gonna ban hands too? Just because you murder somebody with your own hands?
I mean,
That makes no sense.
I'm just saying, like, so you have you take away guns, then you bring down the number of mass shootings because nobody has a gun to shoot, right? But does that actually make mass murder go away? No, because we have seen cars be used as weapons in mass murders, where people just drive their cars at high speed through buildings.
I've seen scissors. Like I even seen scissors and machete. I've seen like so many freaking like different things being used as a weapon, and it's like crazy.
You can use your freaking hand as a weapon. All you gotta do is hit the right spot in the body. Like it's if you really wanted to murder somebody, you don't need a gun to do it. And I think that's what really irritates me with these gun laws and how these politicians and these groups work. Because the reality of it is you can create, even if it's mass murder, you don't need a gun to do it. You can kill a lot of people with a gun. Not with a gun, with a knife. You can kill a lot of people with a bomb. You can kill a lot of people by setting a fire. What about that one club where the guy wanted to kill everybody in the club because he got mad at this girl who didn't want to be with him? She turned him down, so he set the entire fucking club on fire. Like, you don't need a gun to mass murder. And you take away the guns, you're still going to have crime because it's not actually tackling the real issue here. We're
Not
trying to
only
tackle the real issue.
yeah, not only that though. It's like you can literally use like a phone, like for like the case of the girl who told her boyfriend to go kill himself when he did. Like you don't need anything physical either. You can just tell them.
You know, I'm actually happy you brought that up. So, suicide, and we're gonna dig more into suicide. Next week, our mental health thing is gonna be really, really good, but it's also gonna be really topic sensitive. So I hope everybody's ready. But
for the mental health topic, I myself have dealt with it, and of course, I myself will share what I feel and all of that stuff. But that'll be like next week when we get things a little more settled.
Yeah. So background checks. So do you think that background checks are effective in reducing gun-related crime?
Wait, repeat that one more time.
Do you think that background checks are effective at reducing gun-related crime?
Nope.
All right.
And the only reason, yeah, the good thing you asked me why I say that. I don't know if anybody recalls or remembers this case in Las Vegas where this guy who was like in his hotel shoot, I think he was in his room or something. He was like drunk or whatever. He had like I want to say, a military style weapon, and of course he waited for the show to be packed. So right from his own hotel window, he was basically shooting down at all of these people, like literally one by one as they were trying to run away. And of course, I'm pretty sure he did like the background check. I'm pretty sure 100% that he did it. I'm not saying he wouldn't. I don't see why he would.
Wait, that was the guy at the beach, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I think because I don't know it was in Las Vegas and there was like a concert there, but I don't remember the name of the guy.
Okay.
But basically, I'm pretty sure, like I said, I'm pretty sure he did like a background check and everything, And of course, towards the end, the police were called, and they were pretty much, when they broke down the door, they realized that the guy basically shot himself dead. And of course, and then it later came out saying that he was suffering from mental illness. And I feel like background checks don't cover. You're not gonna, like, for example, if I'm gonna get a gun, you don't know if I have some sort of mental problems or not. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, yeah, okay, we're gonna hit that point next. But what I will say, okay, so I do not believe that background checks are effective in preventing crimes. And here's why. Even if a criminal submits to a background checks cannot see intent. So consider this. A man walks into a gun shop with no criminal history. There's nothing on his books. He's never been arrested. But he buys a gun that he is intending to walk next door to the Walmart and use. The background check will tell you he's never committed a crime in his life, but it's not going to tell you his intent with that gun and what he's about to do. So you're going to sell him that gun thinking that he's perfectly fine, he's good, whatever. He's never been
He's responsible, he's not a serial killer, he's pretty much all clear.
And then he's going to walk out, go right next door, and shoot a bunch of people. Background checks cannot see intent. But also, we talked about California a little bit earlier. California has actually had background checks in place for decades. And in 2018, a study was released that examined the effect of comprehensive background checks on the state. The study examined nearly 2 decades, from 1981 to 2000, of data, and found that background checks had no effect on homicide rates in California. No effect at all. It did not make them any less, yeah.
Or affected, I should say.
Yeah, it did not make them any less, any more effective. It didn't stop the homicide rates. They still killed at the normal rates, even with background checks. Which brings us to red flag laws. Do you know what red flag laws are?
I might have heard the phrase, but I don't really recall what it is.
All right.
But then again, I have the memory of a 90-year-old, so.
Well, in simple terms, red flag laws allow people to petition for the temporary confiscation of an individual's firearms if that person is deemed to be a risk to themselves or to others.
So that includes like 99% of people.
So, knowing what you do know about red flag laws, what do you think about
them? Here's the thing. I can't say I'm pro-gun or I'm anti-gun, because I see it from like both sides of the angle. Like, I get why people want like protection. I don't mean protection as in passing laws to like take away guns, but I do see, like a mix of both. So this is where I'm like kind of in the middle of all this.
Well, see, I personally do not have any guns in my home, and the reason that I don't have any guns in my home is because I have children that suffer from mental health issues, 2 of them, and it has just been a personal choice not to bring weapons into our house that potentially could be used in a personal or any other way. So we just don't have them. But at the same time, I am 100% pro Second Amendment, and pro gun. If you wish to have a gun in your house, that is your right. I respect that right. And like I said, the main reason we don't have any in our particular house is because we do have children that suffer from mental health, and it was a decision that we had to make to protect our children. But I'm all for anybody else owning guns. Like, that is your constitutional right. However, I do not agree with red flag laws as they stand in most states. So laws about who can petition a red flag law vary from state to state. In some states, coworkers, employers, teachers, doctors, and family and household members can file the petition for gun removal. That is where the problem lies for me, where a coworker, employer, teacher, doctor, family, or household member can file a petition for gun removal, because that opens the door for abuse. I'm just putting that out there. If your coworker decides that they don't like you and you might have said something that was offensive to them, and they know you have guns in your house, they can go to the court, petition, and say, I feel unsafe because he said this, 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 and this, and I know he has guns. And here's the kicker. Most states with red flag laws. All right, I'm going too far ahead. Hold on. Here's the kicker. If the order is granted, the judge may issue a warrant allowing law enforcement officials to search the respondent's property and confiscate weapons, sometimes without any prior notice. The initial hearing is conducted ex parte, which means the respondent is not present to defend themselves. They will have the hearing. You're not invited to the hearing, and then they just show up and take your guns.
Just from hearing that, I'm leaning towards like pro Second Amendment. Like, they have absolutely the right to be in your house. They can if you have a gun in your own house, that is your right. Yeah. I feel like that is just not something they should be involved in, because that has nothing to do with, like, if you have a personal vendetta against a coworker or an ex-husband or an ex-spouse or whatever. I mean, I feel like that is just completely insane.
Now, I could see where a doctor, or, especially if it's a doctor, like a mental health doctor or something, putting in the petition, because they see you, they work with you, with your mental health or whatever you might be suffering from. And yeah, they can deem that you're a risk to either yourself or somebody else. And I can see them petitioning for a red flag law. When it comes to coworkers, household members, I mean, an ex-wife or an angry girlfriend can decide that you're a threat because you pissed her off and they're coming in to take your guns. And
I feel like I feel like that should be like a limit for, like, for example, if you're someone who struggles with like mental illness and you have a gun in your house, you never used it, you never did anything, you have it hidden under lock and key, and of course, if you have, like, for example, either an ex-wife or next girlfriend or whoever, right? I feel like then yes, I would understand granting that, order of saying like, hey, this person has a history of wanting to harm themselves or wanting to harm somebody else with it because this person has a mental illness, then yes, then I would grant the order. But if you're just angry and petty for the sake of being angry and petty, then that's just no.
Well, and here's my thing. Again, you can take the guns, but if they are really that big of a threat to themselves or somebody else, they're going to find other means to do it, correct? Because here's something that proves that.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
With red flag states that have red flag laws, there was a drop in gun-related suicides after these states passed a red flag law. However, there was also a spike in non-firearm suicides. So yes, gun-related suicides went down with red flag laws, but those same people still committed suicide in a non-firearm way. So did you really help that person prevent suicide? No, you just took away the easiest way to do it, and they found another way.
I mean, yeah, 100%. They're always gonna find another way. Like, no doubt about that. But yeah, I feel like in terms of like, if it's just being petty for the sake of being petty, because you found he, she, it cheating on you, and you decided to make an order because you feel threatened, but really just being petty, then yeah, that's just a whole other drama that nobody wants to be involved in.
Yeah. There isn't much you can do to fight a red flag order either. Because the initial hearing is often ex parte, so that you're not able to defend yourself or give your side of the story, you're not there. So
Oh, that'd just be BS.
Exactly. And I can see red flag laws working if it wasn't just a means to confiscate your guns. Red flag laws should be if a person is actually deemed to be a risk to themselves or somebody else, then it's not as easy as just taking away their gun. You need to then follow that up with treatment. Go see the person. Are they seriously a threat to themselves or somebody else? Are they showing manic behaviors? Are they showing signs of mental health? Are they showing signs of distress? If so, don't just take their guns. Offer them treatment. Get them help. Because just taking their guns does nothing.
I mean, body language and like for example, you could be if you and I were to be working together side by side, and then all of a sudden like your demeanor changed. Like you used to be happy saying oh, good morning to everybody or good afternoon or good evening or whatever to everybody, and then all of a sudden like a month went by and your behavior changed. You stop saying good morning. You stop like, smiling. You stop laughing. Then you started to like pretty much become silent and withdraw. Then in this case, at least for me, I would be like, hey, I'd be like, hey, um, I noticed that you're feeling sad or you're feeling depressed or you're feeling whatever. Like, do you need help or do you need my help or do you need professional help? That's where we'll go in. I wouldn't go there and be like, oh, I'm gonna take away your gun because you're a risk to yourself. Like, I'm not doing that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I can see red flag laws being effective if we're actually dealing with the underlying roots of the problem. And just the guns are not the underlying root of the problem. So taking the guns and just taking the guns and not doing anything else is not helping any situation. Because, like I said, yeah, there was a drop in gun related suicides, but there was also a spike in non gun related suicides, which means the red flags laws were not effective in stopping suicides. They just made sure that they couldn't do it with a gun. That was it. And I feel like it's not productive because you're taking the guns away, but you're not actually helping the person. Like I think our focus needs to go from guns, guns, guns. Let's get rid of all the guns to instead of anti-gun, let's be anti-crime. Let's be anti-hate. Let's be anti, kill.
I mean, like the strengths are in number, basically. Like, for example, if you see somebody, like, if somebody is suffering from alcohol abuse, you have groups that literally, like, called, what do they call it? Alcohol Anonymous? AA, I believe?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that, and of course, if you have that, and of course, like, these people, like I said, they could own a gun. You would never know. But they're there because they're seeking treatment. They're there to be seeking other people that knows what they're struggling with, knows what they're dealing with, know how they're feeling, know pretty much everything.
Yeah.
If you could do that for the AA, why not do that for the rest of them?
Well, yeah, because I think even with red flag laws, if the person is because you're supposed to show evidence that this person is a risk to themselves or somebody else. if you're able to show it's outstanding evidence that the person that's about to lose their guns is in fact a high risk to themselves or somebody else, that would deem them worthy of being put into a mental health facility or a rehab without their consent. Because what it does is if I can go in there and I can say he needs to lose his guns because he's at risk, I'm at risk, this and that. The cop goes to the house, sees that this person is distressed, distraught, needs immediate attention, needs immediate help. Then the laws actually say that they don't have to sign themselves in, even if they're over the age of 14. The state can step in and put them into rehab or put them into, or a family member can put them into rehab or a facility. So if that's the case and you need outstanding, excruciating evidence to even file the red law petition, why are these people not being placed inside centers that can help? Like, it baffles me.
Well, at least for New York, all of our mental institution, well, at least majority of them that I know, majority of them are pretty much shut down. So basically, a lot of these crimes, as over mentioned, they pretty much fall upon those individuals who are veterans, homeless, both, or they're suffering from something and they feel like the only way they could get attention or get some help is by doing all of these things.
Well, see, I think, and that's something we're going to touch on next week too, with veterans too, with their mental health. But I honestly think that, like I don't know. New York has extreme risk protection orders as well. They have a whole website about it. Like, they made it look all pretty and stuff, and it's like, no, y'all are not good. Y'all are not cool. Like,
Well, what I need is an anti-New York City from preventing people from voting morons like Eric Adams interview. Yes, I am calling you out again, Eric Adams.
okay, so here's my next question. What would you like to see politicians do as far as policy laws go? What do you think would actually help bring down the crime in New York?
Not be a Democrat and be a stupid Democrat and vote Democrat in a stupid office with their bullshitted policies would be a great start. I mean, I'm not wrong.
You're not lying, but I mean, like, what policies would you like to see? Like, do you have any like ideas of what could work other than what you have?
Just common sense. I think one thing I want is common sense. Like, for me, like I said, for me, gun is something that I am not like I'm in between. Like, yes, I want people to own a gun, but it has to be basically what I want is a Florida for New York. That's basically what it is. If a criminal can own a gun and shoot you dead, and you're a family member that wants to revenge on the family member's death, you're allowed to do that by all means. That's what I personally feel. Just make New York Florida. That's the only thing I want.
Make New York Florida. Give me DeSantis. I know. But anyways, yeah, I think realistically, I think it's more something that we're going to touch on next week, and I'm actually really excited about next week. But I think we need to stop pointing our fingers at guns, and we need to start focusing on the underlying problems such as mental health, and spreading of hate. Everywhere you look, whether it be social media, news, anywhere you go, we're spreading, there's a hateful message being spread, whether it's against white people, black people, gay people, trans people, Christians, Asians, Jewish, like there's some kind of hate message out there. And I think right now, instead of sending a message of unity and love and respect, we're sending hate messages out, and people, it's just changing the way people live. It's changing the way people see other people. Instead of seeing somebody as another human being, we're seeing them as filth, or, oh, they're just Jewish, they don't matter. Oh, they're just black, they don't matter. Oh, they're just, whatever, they don't matter. When in reality, we're all human. We all bleed the same. And I think the message that we send needs to be different. And it all goes down to the underlying causes. And we're going to talk a lot more about mental health, especially.
And which I'm really, really super excited to know about too. Because I feel like this one is extremely, extremely important, especially for not only for kids but for adults and for everybody of all ages.
I mean, I have been doing, and I'm just gonna say this, and then we'll say our closing remarks. I have been doing extensive research on mental health, specifically in America and in different states across America. The mental health laws, the mental health system, including the VA for veterans and military personnel. And I've been doing it for years and years. Like, I'm always looking at the new statistics. I have websites saved to my browser so that every month I can look at the mental health statistics for the country, and because it is a topic that is very sensitive to me, because like I said, I have 2 children who suffer from mental health. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my history and what I've dealt with my children and stuff next week. But I'm actually excited for that one, but it is going to be a sensitive topic, so I want people to be ready to know that.
Yeah, and of course, this is basically like an open door for pretty much everybody. If you guys wanna share your story, share your thoughts, share your feelings, like I said, this podcast is not just for us; it's basically for everybody. Those who do not have a voice and wants to be heard, we're opening the doors for all of you.
Yes, I do. I do want next week to be one where, especially next week, but every week, like you said, but especially next week, I want people to be able to open up and tell us their stories as well, because I know both me and you have stories about mental health and how it has affected us personally. And
I mean, not only affected, like I dealt with it myself.
Oh yeah. So, but that being said, we are done with our crime podcast.
So yeah, next week I'm gonna set everything up. It's gonna be a good one. So hopefully, everybody will come out and share their stories, share their thoughts, feelings, and everything. So hopefully, you guys will see you next week.
Real quick before you end, though, just a heads up. Next week will probably run longer because it is a topic that we are going to actually extensively dive into. Like, not just read through a script. We're gonna actually dive deep into it. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. All right, so next week, hopefully we see everybody there. So y'all have a good night.